Trade Genius.
Hey guys, it's Philip with Trade Genius, and this is the weekly outlook for March 12th. And basically, let's start off with Bitcoin. As you guys can see, we were made a low first week of February, made a major low, and we've come up. And this area here is basically the FUD wave that came through. That was basically news coming out about the Mt. Gox trustee, how he was dumping all through this area here. You know, big chunks, several thousand coins at a time, which will decimate an order book if and drop the price. If he's just dumping at market, that could easily drop the price a couple $1,000s if they're doing it indiscriminately like that. Was he doing that? Hard to say. I don't think we saw any instantaneous drops of that amount, but we did see some pretty fast drops, so hard to say how they were actually selling those off. But that news came out, and we'll get into that in another video in a little more details as far as how that's going to affect things going forward. But that came out. Binance issue came up where some of the user accounts got their trading APIs, which is how they use bots, trading bots, that got hacked, right? And some other stuff came out. So there's just a confluence of news. It's kind of interesting how that seems to happen. Is that coincidence or something else? But you know, so that fueled, or at least that was the excuse given to fuel this move down. Now, in the previous video, I said this buy fib zone area had to hold like this 8,500 area. And so we've bounced off of that. Now, what's the fly in the ointment for Bitcoin bulls is that we've got an exit signal and a short signal on our indicator here. On the dailies, I take very close note of that, because when those fire, you usually get a pretty decent move. They fired here after this bottom had formed. And we got another move up from 8,900 basically up to that pivotal 11,700 level. The last time, they don't fire, dailies don't fire that often. We had an exit signal and a sell short signal right at the top here. So I don't take those lightly. Now, for these two, if this was not to roll over, we'd basically make a break above these moving averages, and more importantly, I think for technical reasons, a break above this level here of 10,365 approximately. If price was to push up above that, that would put those short signals in jeopardy. So otherwise, this would roll over, and your downside target currently would be 7,600 roughly. On the upside, your target is 13,167. So kind of in the middle. When you're in between fib zones like this, as you can see, where this is like consolidating between these trend lines, you're kind of in no man's land. So price has to confirm one way or the other right here. And the only other thing you can really look at is daily. We're having a cross up on the stochastics, and that would be bullish on the 4-hour. 4-hour. This move here, this happened on Saturday. And that's another thing I wanted to point out, is that 11 a.m. you just have these. This happened all last week, 11 a.m. So we'll be curious to see if we get that today. 11 a.m. you just had these big push downs. And so on Saturday, which was interesting, we also had an 11 a.m. sell-off. So pretty interesting that 11 a.m. seems to be the hour that they want to sell. I don't know why, but that's just kind of the phenomenon. So will we see that today? Interesting to find out if we do. Yesterday, Sunday, we did not get that. In fact, quite the opposite happened, and we had this huge candle up. Now, maybe people were getting short there, and we got a short squeeze. In any event, we broke back above this 9,500 level, which I told guys in the room was pretty pivotal to do. So, and we broke back above this shorter weighted moving average. So, but again, we would need to see a move above, really above this 10,400 level, which spans this move down. It breaks above that, bulls are back in control. and then it's going to most likely gun at that point for the 11,700 level. But again, unless we break above that, the party isn't getting started. And you know, as Bitcoin goes, so does the crypto space. So now let's take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum on the daily, kind of hugging this long-term trend line down. Again, it's got a sell signal. Zoom in to see that. So again, if the sell signal is going to work out to the downside, actually they've got some rather large fib numbers in play, and so again we have these downside fib targets of 397 and 351. I would actually draw one from here to here, make that red for sell, and so the immediate downside threat would be 561.03 on Ethereum. So again, now Ethereum is a little more bearish technically because it's broken the big buy zone, and again, similar to Bitcoin, stochastics and the RSI are coming off oversold levels, so that is a bullish sign. But if this rolls over, the market rolls over, that's, you know, like Bitcoin, you have this near-term downside target of 561. Otherwise, longer term, if you look at, you know, it's barely holding on to this fib buy zone. You do, if this market does turn around and we do get higher highs here, then it's looking like the 1687. That's going to be the next stop. Again, you know, we are expecting March to be the end of this down move, and we start turning back up for the next leg up. That's been our basically our timeline for this. So that's what we're at this point. It's pretty pivotal that this stuff does turn around though here. So I think the next this week I think is pretty important for that. If you look at Litecoin's interesting. It's actually doing pretty strong technically. It didn't really, unlike Bitcoin, it still held its head and shoulders pretty well, and so I like that. And so I'm, you know, as far as what's next, 250 is key. I think that's a key level to clear. If we break above this trend line here, I would be tempted to put in, you can even put in a buy stop for a pop above this, and if it triggers, you know, and you catch the move, I think you're going to have clear this level here of about, I think if you get into the 215s, you're probably on your way to 250. Clear 250 and you're on your way to 300. That's basically the setup there. The only thing that would, and again, just like Bitcoin and Ethereum, the technicals are firing a sell, but it is kind of contrary to the RSI and the stochastic. So again, kind of no man's land. We need to see a break one way or the other, and then that's where you get positioned for the next move. So we'll just have to see how that shakes out, and we'll probably do a midweek update based on what happens in the next 48 hours. Alts, they've been doing pretty good. I'll wrap it up there with the charts. Now this upper chart is the 1 week. Okay, this guy. And what you'll notice is we're starting to get in sync with both Bitcoin and and the alts. And that wasn't something that we saw up until this last week. This is a 2-week chart down here. And if you notice, we were getting this inverse correlation still, you know, Bitcoin trending up and the alts trending down. And then right about here, so this is a 2-week chart, so this is this section here is basically all this up here. And these are provided by Flame in the room. He does a good job of plotting these. These are just a basket of 110 alts. So it's not, it's a little bit more organized than CoinMarketCap or aggregated in that they're combined. And so what you saw though is that what we're seeing up here is that things are starting to move together. Now the percentages are a little off, but more or less the moves are kind of correlating. And that was a big key that I wanted to see, because I think when this market does turn up, both Bitcoin and alts for the most part are going to turn up together, as opposed to this what we call the Hulk smash, when Bitcoin rips and then the alts all get just hammered, and it's in an inverse correlation. So I think the initial move up will ultimately, for it to get going and the party started, I think that's going to be a crucial, that's a big, important sign to see that they're moving together. So that's pretty much it, guys. To summarize, kind of in no man's land at the moment. We need some price confirmation either way. So, we'll see what happens. I think we'll do a mid-week update just to kind of recap what's happened over the next 48 hours. Again, I think this is a pretty important week for the bulls. I will leave you with this, and this is our long-term pitchfork. And as you can see, we've come down to the bottom of it again, bounced off the 200-day moving average, which is not that abnormal to break through the 200 and retest it. Now, what was tricky was we thought we'd retest it possibly on this move down, and when it moved back up, you had a cup and handle form, and it really looked bullish right here. And then the FUD in here hit us. Oops. So that kind of ruined that, but it was all set up technically to break through. So again, it's expensive up here and it's cheap on this side of the fork. What you'll see on higher highs like we have here is that they'll bounce off support of a prior high, but higher than the low. So this is a higher high from this low, but this previous high is higher than that low. You see? So you'll see that on major higher lows. So like here was another one example, kind of toward the bottom of the lower half of the channel, and you notice that you had the same thing. It bounced off this prior high area right here. So you see the same thing here. So you got that set up and you have this set up, and those mark major higher lows. So just something to keep an eye on, guys. Again, price needs to confirm, and I think the next 48 hours is fairly important to that. So there you have it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next video, where we're going to talk a little bit about that Tokyo Mt. Gox whale and how that's shaking out, and how you guys can track what that wallet is doing, so you can get a heads up if they're moving around. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Bye.
Trade Genius.